What's up, guys? Ian here with another episode of Google Sheet Tutorials, we'll call it. This is the first episode of Google Sheets for Intermediates. I have a couple episodes of intermediate skills that I think we can go over here. This is going to be intermediate formatting. So welcome to intermediate formatting. If you remember from basic formatting, we covered bolding, italics, and strike through. We also covered filling cells with color and changing the color of text. We also talked about alignment, so the horizontal alignment of the text that's in the cells or the numbers, what have you. We talked about inserting comments as well, I believe, and we talked about fonts a little bit, and we talked about inserting images as well, I think. Now today, we're going to go over skill that was specifically requested by Austin for me to talk about. This is something that not many people know about, but it's a very useful skill. It's called cell merging. If you have two cells and they contain a sentence, so for example, this cat loves to sit on dogs. So you'll notice that the text moves from C4 into D4. You can actually highlight both cells, and then you click on this option, the Merge Cells button here. You can select the merge type. It doesn't really matter. Generally, you just want to click merge, and voila, it's now one cell. So it's now cell CD4, and you can see by highlighting the cell, you can see which columns and which rows it affects. We can even highlight all of these and merge them together. You'll see that it moved down. We can highlight this group and merge them together, and now the text moves down because it's a larger box that you're working with. And if you want to fill it, it's just going to be the same color throughout the entire box. So nice big yellow. The text throughout the whole box is going to be green. That looks really ugly. Purple. Um, actually, the yellow doesn't look super nice either. That's a little bit blinding. We'll go with red and green. There we go. Yeah, so that is what merging cells is. It's just that little box up here. Do another example here. Merge some more cells. It's usually a little bit more common when you're working with some stuff that we'll talk about a little bit later. I'm going to go over making things pretty because again, this kind of looks ugly. And in general, Google Sheets is a very ugly tool until you learn how to format properly and sort of get into that side of things. There is a format menu down here. You can go through all of this stuff. It's not really that helpful, to be honest. Some of it is. Okay, so going over number, I'll just briefly touch on this. It's not something that I really wanted to get into because it's more, I'm more of a design person in regards to Google Sheets, and this is more of a practical use of the functions. But you can change numbers, percentages, scientific notation, accounting, financial, currency, all of these different things. You can have different forms for numbers, right? So let's say we have 1,000, right? So it's just going to show up as 1,000. You can then change it to a percentage. You can change it to dollars. You can change it through the format number to accounting. Um, you can change it to a date. I don't know how 1,000 turns into September 26, 1902, but it does, apparently. Um, yeah, there's just a variety of options you can go with here. 12 a.m. is 1,000. That makes sense, doesn't it? Oh, I see. I see. Format number. Some other options here. You can do duration. So all of that's pretty much useless for the capabilities that we'll be showing off in this. But just make all of this back to where it was. There, back to the beginning. Um, that's just some more practical formatting uses. If you're actually using Google Sheets for things like um, accounting purposes, we'll talk a little bit about that in intermediate formulas, but it's a very helpful tool for accounting. I should know I'm an accounting student, and we use Excel a lot of the time to do lots of calculations and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to just use formulas and then cell reference later, which is something that we'll be getting into in intermediate formulas as well. So now that we've gone over cell merging, I'd like to talk about borders a little bit. Some people don't know that these exist. They're very useful. This little box here is called borders, and there's a bunch of varieties. You can choose the color of the border itself. You can choose the border style, so it can be a thicker border. You can have 2 lines. That's more of a practical use for accounting purposes as well. But for now, we'll just make a box. So we'll do a 3x3 box, and we will highlight it in all borders. So now you've made a border, and these cells are now separate in quotations from the other cells around them. They're not actually separate from the other cells around them because you'll notice if we try and merge a cell from outside of the box inside the box, the line adjusts with it. And if we merge 2 cells outside the box, it doesn't make a difference. But if you're merging a whole row, it goes away. So the border is now gone. You can actually make a border around an entire row as well if you wanted to. Kind of just some basics about borders there. Borders are really useful if you want to designate an area that you're going to merge and then still have the border around it, or you can, excuse me, there you can just add the border again. And now it's sort of like a title box, so we could do title, and maybe we'll make it 36 and we'll make it centered. And now that looks nice and pretty, right? So we got the title, and then from there on we can merge a row, 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 and then we'll call this the text space. So you could say we'll just make like a poem, one of those acrostic poems, I think. ITACE. I don't know what they're actually going to stand for, but you can see the sort of the gist here is borders sort of help separate things. And even from there, you can just drop a bottom border, another 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 bottom border. Generally just keeps things nice and even. And you've got your borders. So the borders are really helpful for separating things off, like I've been saying. The separation is really what you want to get out of the borders. There's no real reason for borders. Otherwise, like if you just wanted to make a border around this cell, what the hell is that doing for you? It's not doing anything for you unless you were actually separating a certain cell away from something. And you'll find that in budgeting quite a bit of the time if you're making a budget. So we'll just do that. If you're making a budget, right, let's say you've got a cash budget, and so you've got a few items on your list. Let's say travel expenses, and what else would you spend? Inventory, wages, right? Let's just say we got those 3, right? You might want to just merge these cells as well, and then maybe over here you've got the values. So let's say it's 1,000, it's 2,000, and then you've got 3,000 in wages, right? And these would probably be you'd want to make these in the accounting format realistically. But what you would want to use borders in this case to make a total. So what we'll do here is we will actually use this style, and we will make a border on the bottom. So now we've made ourselves a total border, right? And then so that sort of designates to you that you're making a total equals sum of these. So there you go. Your total is now $6,000, and you've sort of designated, you're separating that into $6,000, and we might even do the same here, where you would maybe just do like a thicker line there, and you'd write total. So that's sort of what you might think about doing. Whoops, that should probably be merged. Something that you might think about doing, and then even just a big border around all of them to sort of separate. Okay, that was not what I wanted to do. Forgot to change it from thick border back to the regular border. And so now you've got sort of something that's set out for itself, maybe a little bit different than what many of you watching might think of what you can do with borders, but that's kind of where you're going with it. You've got the separation of the cash budget from everything else in your sheet. You've got the separation from the total and the items, and you've got the separation from the sum and the costs, right? So that's sort of where you're going with that. Now, I did want to talk about sorting. I didn't lay out an example, so I'm just going to sort of build one really quickly here. Like I mentioned before, I'm a big part of the Draftly community, and I do a lot of sorting in my docs to determine kill leaders and things like that, but you can do the same thing with sports. So let's take hockey as a reference because I'm Canadian and I love watching hockey. So let's say you got Gretzky, you've got Lemieux, you've got Ovechkin, and you've got Crosby. Let's just go with that, right? So now we'll put players, we'll put goals, assists, points. I should actually move this up here, and I'm just going to scrap all of this. You can highlight a full area and take away the borders. These should really not be merged anymore. I should just Control Z my way through all of this, Control Z'd my way through all of this. Doesn't really matter however you want to put it. But nice and quickly, just going through and unmerging. There. So now we've built sort of a list here. Let's say Gretzky scored 900 goals, 900 assists. Lemieux scored 800 goals, 800 assists. Ovechkin 700, 700, and Crosby is a little bit weird, and he's got 500, 600. So then from there, we'll just sort of do sum. I didn't really write that properly, but it doesn't really matter. Equals sum of these. Just really quickly, this was all beginners formulas that I'm doing here with the sum function. There we go. So now we've got their points totaled up, and now we want to sort. So you can sort by clicking on the row, or sorry, the column. You can actually sort based on the row as well, I think. No, you can't. You can only sort by the column. So we're going to highlight column D here, which is the points, and we're just going to sort the points. So we'll right click on here, or if you're on a Mac, you can control click, or insert. That might be it, actually. I don't know if you can do this without right click. No, you can. You can go to data and you can sort by A to Z or Z to A. So A to Z would be this, and so you're sorting from lowest to highest at this point, and that sort of screwed everything up. As you can see, everything's in the wrong order now. But oh, you know what? I should have done this a different way. What we're gonna do is cut you, paste you. Ovechkin has 700, 700. Didn't lay that out nice. Now, so it's not in a particular order at this point. It's sort of all janky and the numbers are in a different order. So we're going to want to sort it. And generally, you're going to want to sort sheet Z to A so that it's highest to lowest. So now just sorted them. It kept my titles where they needed to be, and it sorted them in order of highest points from Gretzky with 1,800 down to Crosby with 1,100. So you can see how, and we'll just undo so you can see the difference. So Ovechkin was at the top of the list before, and then when you sort it, he moves into third in the list, which is where he belongs. You can do the same thing with the goals and assists. I was just sorting with the sums over here, which I typed weirdly, but you can do the same thing with assists. You'll sort it. Now, for some reason, his points are gone. I don't know why that happened. That's really weird. That's really weird. There we go. Now it's sorted them again. And then we'll sort them with goals. Same thing. Sorts them back into order. This wasn't the best example because I was going downwards anyways, but you kind of see the point there, so you can put anything into a list and then you can sort it from there. So I don't know, we can just delete all this, right? It's not really necessary anymore. Whoa, I did not mean to full screen. My bad. Full screen might be better actually for the purposes of this, but I'm not entirely sure if that's what I want to go with. I might change that up for a little bit later, but we'll just do a regular list. We'll choose numbers at random: 1, 4, 7, 3, 9, 2, 8, 4, 6. We'll just go with that. Oh, I did 4 twice. 5. There we go. So now we'll just sort this. And we'll sort Z to A. And look, it goes 9 through 1. And we'll sort it. We'll just undo that. And we'll sort A to Z. And it goes 1 through 9. So that's kind of the sorting function. Just puts things in order for you. Very useful. And it's just sort of good with what you want to do. Now I did want to touch, we're almost on the video here, I did just want to touch a little bit on planning things out. So when you're formatting a document, you really want to sort of visually plan it out in your head first before you know what you want to do. Especially for cell sizing, it's kind of a pain in the ass if you like resize a cell like I just did to column C here. I resized all those cells and then you're moving forward and you're like, oh no, I needed that to be bigger, but then you make it bigger and all of a sudden the ones down here are screwed up. So generally what you're going to try and do is, there we go, back to normal. Whoops, actually no, it's not. There we go. What you're going to want to do is just visualize things how you want to go and then move on from there. I did want to talk a little bit about using smaller cells more and merging things to make it look a little bit nicer. I personally do this for tier lists in my draft league documents. What you want to do is make things smaller. Generally, I like using about half a cell, so just like shrinking things down to half. So I'll just do an example here of what a column might look like on a tier list that I would build. So you're taking 4 columns here and cutting them in half. And then you would have like the point totals. Let's say it's tier 1, so you got 180. And then we'll just merge these and we'll call it tier 1. What I'm actually going to do is make sure that all of these are center aligned. There we go. So that kind of looks nice, right? But now F is where we want to go. So we'll have open. Whoa, holy crap, I forgot about that. This is not supposed to be 3610. There we go. Open. And then we'll just copy and paste, 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 paste. I'm sure I can think of enough tier 1s for that. But now this is essentially, this is where you would put if something is taken. So we're just gonna, I'll just do border around this, and then a border around this, and now we'll just merge these so it looks a little bit nicer. Really quickly here. And on this one, we'll put a border at the bottom so we know that is the end. And column I, now I didn't extend this all the way down, but column I, you could do a border across the side. You'll see it goes all the way down. That's not what we want at all. We just want these ones with the border across the side. So now it looks pretty nice, nice and pretty. A zoomer, whoa, my God, I forgot about this again. Sorry about that. 10. What is happening? No, 10. Zoomerl is typically a tier 1. Blissef, full on. Ferrothorn, we'll throw some more things in there. Landorus, Therian, running out of ideas. Victini, Volcanion, Canyon, Weavile, Zapdos. Both of these should not be 36, they'll both be 10 real quick. Zapdos. Now this is obviously a very small version of what this might look like, but from here, you've used your borders, you've used your cell merging, and it looks nice and pretty. Now you might want to use something like yellow for that, and you might want to bold maybe these, and maybe for this you want like a gray, so we'll do that. And then for these you might want a little lighter shade of yellow, just so that people know what tier they're picking from. So there, we've just kind of built a nice little fun-looking list there, and we formatted it nicely, and it all looks nice and pretty. Let's say someone took a Zoomerl. Let's say it's my team. My team's Ladner Lantern, so we put a strike through it so that people know that it's gone, and we'll do LL for my initials, and maybe we'll fill the box with nice color, and so now we know which team has it and that it's gone. So that's sort of where we're moving on from there. Now you'll notice that this is like fairly simple, but it also looks really nice, because we've colored it, we've put borders in, we've merged cells to look a little bit better. We are actually taking up 4 columns here. Now, in the long run, it's not going to pay off to use 4 columns all of the time. Sometimes you're going to want to extend the cell, so we could do the same thing. We could actually do the same thing by just extending 2. So we could shrink J and enlarge K about 1.5 is probably fine. And we can do the same thing. So we'll do 180, tier 1. Actually, just make sure these are all 10 real quick and make sure they're all centered. And then we'll do a whole border around all of them. It's a little bit faster to do it this way. Left, and I'm actually going to do one on the right just in case. And we will copy this, paste, 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 and we'll copy this, paste that. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I'll just have to retype them. So you go Azumarill, Lysethwan, Ferrothorn, Landorus, Victini, Volcanion, Weavile, Zapdos. For some reason this open didn't get the bottom border, so we'll do that. Make these yellow. Make this one yellow. Nope, yellow. Cross out Azumarill and LL. There. So they look identical. They're pretty, sorry, I didn't bold these. They don't look identical. Now they look identical for the most part. You can obviously just stretch K out as much as you want to here, and then obviously that's going to go a little bit wider, and so we'll try and make it about the size that the other one was. It's pretty close. They're about the same size. Both of these tables are almost identical, except this one is using more columns to do the job, which takes a little bit more work because you're going to have to go through and merge, 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 merge. Now, it's a little bit time consuming for the most part, but it is honestly ends up working out pretty well in the end. Instead of having a nice big long K, which kind of looks ugly, at least in my mind, you can have GHI. So that's sort of where we're going with that. Now that's kind of mostly what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to emphasize that making simple things pretty is really simple if you know what you're doing with the formatting. And I've got some ideas for some advanced formatting. That'll be coming out when I get a better grasp of what I want to sort of talk about in that. But next up will be intermediate formulas. So keep an eye out for that, and I hope you guys have a great day.